Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Put in the chat if the audio is good. You're about to see my face. We're about to get right into the forecast. Just give it a few more moments. Alrighty, welcome into this more weather urgent, important, emergency live stream, whatever you want to call it, this evening. I hope you all are having a great evening. We are covering Tropical Storm Idalia. It's not Idalia, it's Idalia. You want to say Idalia, but it is Idalia. And this is the current satellite imagery, or infrared satellite here, of Tropical Storm Idalia, which is near the western portion of Cuba right now. And you can see it's getting itself organized right now. We got winds strengthening. The storm is just growing in intensity, and you can see that counterclockwise rotation really organizing here. And eventually we're going to see an eye form right in here. And the storm is moving pretty slowly, but it is moving to the north towards Florida. So this is Tropical Storm Idalia at the moment. This is what we're dealing with right now. Right above me, we have the cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. To get all your information, go to the National Hurricane Center. And then right above that, we have Tampa Bay, Florida Earth Cam live picture of what's going on there, because we are expecting some pretty major impacts in the Tampa Bay region. So let's get straight into the forecast. I hope the audio is working. I think it is. Okay, let me just look at the chat real quick here before we get into the forecast. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello. How are you guys? Hope you are all having a great evening. Okay, it looks like audio's working. If it ever comes out or anything like that, just yell at me in the chat. Okay, so let's get straight into the forecast here, looking at the cone of uncertainty. Why do we call it the cone of uncertainty? Because we're uncertain where it's going to go in this cone, and the farther out you go, as you can see, the bigger the cone gets. So right now, we're calling for a hurricane to form late tonight into early tomorrow morning. So we do have hurricane warnings for that that western region of Cuba there. So if you're in that area, flooding, strong winds, going to be impacts to expect by 7 a.m. on Tuesday. So early to morning tomorrow, this storm will be well to the west of the Keys, but bringing a lot of rain over there. That's why we have tropical storm warnings and watches for parts of the Keys. Sorry, my map just fell back there. That's why you're hearing that, but that's okay. By 7 p.m. on Tuesday, this storm's going to start ramping up, going to start moving a little faster. So through all day Tuesday, it's going to go a good distance from Cuba to just to the west there of Tampa Bay, Florida. So it's going to be a hurricane. And then what the National Hurricane Center is calling for right now, a major hurricane. We're on about Category 3, maybe Category 2, but I would say probably Category 3 hurricane making landfall in the Big Bend region of Florida by the time we go into early Wednesday morning. So 7 a.m. Wednesday, around that time. For now, again, this can change, is what the NHC is calling for, is when the NHC, National Hurricane Center, is calling for a landfall of now Tropical Storm Idalia, but will be at that point hurricane, possibly like the National Hurricane Center is saying, major hurricane Idalia. So that is why we have hurricane warnings from Tampa Bay, Florida, all the way to Apalachicola, Florida. Those pinks are hurricane watches, and those blues are tropical storm warnings. We're expecting it to keep its tropical storm status well into inland regions. So as it hits places like Jacksonville, Savannah there, as well as in Georgia. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cough, so I'm trying to keep that cough in. I've had a cold the last couple of days, but let's get back into it. So again, Georgia into the south, eastern region of Georgia, into the Carolinas, into North Carolina. Still going to be seeing tropical storm force impact. So tropical storm force winds well into inland to a place like Gainesville, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, into parts of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and then into somewhere like Wilmington, North Carolina. We are going to see those tropical storm impacts, which again are still significant impacts. I can't stress that enough. Tropical storm impacts are still significant impacts that you need to be prepared for. So this is an advanced heads up if you're in the coastal region of southern North Carolina, here into South Carolina, Georgia, and even here to the eastern coast of Florida, but mainly up towards Jacksonville, Florida. that's where we're, again, going to have to be prepared for strong winds. Some storm surge could be possible, but mainly strong winds and flash flooding. That's going to be a big issue. But that's the latest with the cone of uncertainty with Tropical Storm Idalia at the moment. So let's look at the spaghetti models. The spaghetti models here. This is kind of a plot of what we're going to expect with Tropical Storm Idalia. These are all the major, hurricane models here. This is what we're expecting. If it turns more east, my location is screwed. Yeah, again, if we're going to see fluctuations here. I'm going to go back to the map here. Anywhere really in this region, I'm saying through here really needs to be prepared, because the center of the storm could go right through here, but it also could go right through here. And the way the coast is oriented, the way the storm's going towards the coast, if we just see, the storm right here, expect to go up here, up north, and then take a little bit of an eastward turn, we're talking about different areas seeing those really big, unfortunate impacts. So again, that's why if you're in Tampa Bay, even south towards Fort Myers, you still need to be on guard. I don't want you guys to be worrying, but you still do need to be on guard, because anywhere in, again, this cone of uncertainty throughout here is going to be areas where we're going to have to watch for significant impacts. Again, this storm has wiggle room. It's not just going to go, straight through like it's forecasting right now. That's probably going to change. And, we saw the forecast cone a little bit more over here in the weekend, but again, now it's moving a little bit to the south. Are we going to continue to see that trend? Maybe. So we're going to have to watch that, again, if you are in the Tampa Bay area. So let's go back to the model guidance, and as you can see, most of these models put it hitting the Big Bend. Pretty much all of them do. So the Big Bend region of Florida, we're kind of talking about Cedar Key, Florida, Apalachicola, Florida, as well as Gainesville, Florida here. Really need to be prepared. We're not, down here in Fort Myers and be like, I don't know if I'm going to prepare really. We don't know if it's going to hit you. If you're in the Big Bend of Florida, you need to be prepared right now. If you haven't prepared yet, prepare now. And make sure you heed those evacuation warnings. That's very important, because this is going to be a strong, possibly, again, major hurricane that hits your area. So like I was saying, the storm's going to have wiggle room throughout this area. We could see it go a little bit more to the west, and we could see it go a little bit more to the east and southeast. So again, that's a trend we're going to have to watch out for. Sorry about that. That's a trend that we're going to have to watch out for in the Big Bend region of Florida, north of Tampa, and to the east of Panama City, Pensacola, and Destin, Florida. So again, that Big Bend region, Apalachicola, Cedar Key, Gainesville, Florida, really need to be prepared. Since all of the models are, and there's not even an outlier here, all of the models are putting the storm coming through the Big Bend region of Florida into Georgia, South Carolina, and southern North Carolina. So again, this is the consensus here. Big Bend region of Florida skirts the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and then goes out to sea, possibly affecting Bermuda. So again, in this region, we really need to be prepared. That doesn't mean impacts aren't going to range all the way towards Panama City and Pensacola and all the way down towards Tampa Bay and Fort Myers. We're going to see impacts in probably both of these regions, with more significant ones down here to the south. So again, it's not just in that cone. We're going to see impacts outside of that cone as well. So these are the hurricane force wind speed probabilities preliminary from the National Hurricane Center. And as you can see, these chances have majorly gone up. They're at like 30 on Saturday, and now they've gone up to 50, 60, 70. So again, this Big Bend region, even down towards Tampa Bay, and over towards, let's say, here near Seaside, Florida. I'm not expecting too much in Seaside, Florida, but near Apalachicola. Again, in this region, hurricane force winds are likely, especially in this region right here is where we're really expecting the big brunt of these winds. So again, the winds are going to be a big problem. We're also expecting storm surge. That's also an issue that we deal with every single time here. And from Apalachicola down towards Tampa Bay, but to the north of Tampa Bay, we're expecting 8 to 12 feet of storm surge. Now, we were looking at the same time frame here. We were about 1 to 2 days out from Hurricane Ian, and we thought 8 to 12 feet in Tampa Bay, which would have been terrible. But it shifted to the south. So it shifted to the south, and we didn't see as big of impacts in Tampa Bay or Sarasota, Florida, with Hurricane Ian. So we're going to have to watch, again, the wiggle room. We're going to have to watch the changes in the forecast here, because this could shift to the south, and all of a sudden we've got 8 to 12 feet in Tampa Bay. This isn't to make you worried or scared. This is just to make you have that mindset to know that there's changes to come here in the forecast. But right now, as the forecast stands right now, 8 to 12 feet in the Big Bend area of Florida, which is dangerous, dangerous storm surge. You don't want to be caught on the coast during this type of storm surge. And then down towards Tampa Bay, we've got 4 to 7 feet. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm trying to keep in my cough, but I won't be able to every single time. But Tampa Bay, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge, which is significant for that area. If you live there, you know that we're going to see storm surge, or when you see storm surge, it produces pretty significant impacts. It's a very low city. If we get 4 to 7 feet, which is about 5 feet to 6 feet, how tall most of you guys watching these videos are, as tall as you, or just taller than you, in these towns, in these shops, in these houses. So again, those are major impacts. And then down towards Charlotte Harbor, sorry about this noise, down towards Charlotte Harbor, Fort Myers as well, 2 to 4, 3 to 5 feet there as well. But the big time impacts, at least for now, where we're expecting them, is the Big Bend area of Florida, this Big Bend region. And then looking ahead towards South Carolina, Georgia, and the eastern coast of Florida, the Atlantic coast of Florida here, you can see we're expecting 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. So impacts here as well, kind of like we saw with Ian. We saw impacts in Florida, and then we saw another landfall with impacts in Georgia and South Carolina. We're not expecting another landfall, but we definitely are expecting more impacts. So if you're in this region, you need to start getting prepared as well. But Hurricane Idalia is going to hit somewhere in this region. It's going to make landfall somewhere in this region. So if you're in this region here in the Big Bend of Florida, down towards Tampa Bay, you really need to be prepared. You need to start sandbagging your home, getting things ready. If you're going to ride it out, which of course I don't recommend, you got to have a lot of supplies to ride that out safely. But if there's an evacuation order, you definitely do want to evacuate. Hello, Pettis Weather. How are you? Tornado threat? Yeah, we're going to have to watch that. I think the severe weather threat is going to be possible there on the eastern threat, on the eastern side of that storm as the storm comes in. So severe weather threat, again, big. But again, the thing we really have to be focusing in on and honing in on is that, storm surge threat as well as that strong wind threat. Why does one model show it looping around to hit the Cape? I wouldn't say that's going to happen. Just one outlier model. Most of the models don't show that, so I wouldn't say that's going to happen. Will this hit Tampa Bay, and if so, how bad will this get for Tampa? Well, for Tampa, we're forecasting 4 to 7 feet of storm surge right now. Not a direct landfall of Tampa. Landfall probably to the north of Tampa, but that doesn't mean we can't have impacts in Tampa Bay. So if we see a shift to the south, we're going to see even more significant impacts in Tampa Bay. And if you live there in Tampa, storm surge is really bad in that city. When you get storm surge, it really hits. It really hits bad. So, yeah, we are expecting significant impacts in Tampa Bay, 4 to 7 feet, again, of storm surge. So if you live there, you really do need to be prepared. You really do need to be watching out for that significant threat. And if there are any evacuation orders, make sure to heed those orders. Okay, now, to kind of also answer your question here of how bad the impacts are going to be here, we're going to look at the potential storm surge flooding map. So these are the areas that will be inundated if the forecast right now verifies. If we get a shift to the north, this could not be the case. But if we get a shift to the south, we could see this, but even more significant than this. So looking at downtown Tampa, you can see lots of downtown Tampa covered up in water there on the coast there of the McKay Bay, Hillsborough Bay as well. The MacDill Air Force Base covered up in a storm surge according to the forecast right now. St. Petersburg, you're looking fine, but you can just see all of these areas in orange and yellow and blue, not in red, but in orange, yellow, and blue, will be inundated with storm surge if the forecast right now verifies. And again, that's something to talk about. Will this verify? We don't know. But we got to be prepared for this situation and maybe even worse. We've got to be prepared for it. Really do. And then going up the coast towards Hudson, Spring Hill, here, Homosassa Springs, you can just see all of these areas, these kind of swampy areas here in the Big Bend as well, going to be covered up in storm surge. Very dangerous situation here. Horseshoe Beach here, Suwannee, I'm sorry if I'm not saying these right, but this kind of swampy, marshy area, Cedar Key right there, as you can see, is just going to be inundated with storm surge if the forecast right now verifies. So you really do need to be prepared if you're in that area. Now let's look at the flash flooding threat, because this is the threat that we're looking at inland into a place like Jacksonville, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, and Wilmington, North Carolina. So we got a moderate threat. Would not be surprised at all if we get a high threat issued, but it doesn't matter whether it's moderate or high. You still need to be prepared. So if you're in a flood-prone area, a flash flood-prone area in those urban areas as well, you really do need to be prepared for this. And then outside of that, you have slight risk. So flash flooding, as we just see training and this inundation of moisture into this area, it's going to be a huge threat, maybe the biggest threat here that we see. So you really need to be prepared. This is going to be probably the biggest impact we see into the coast of North Carolina, into the coast of South Carolina, and into the coast and inland areas of Georgia. Again, this is going to be a huge threat that we really do need to watch out for. So that about wraps up this live stream. I'll go back to the cone of uncertainty. Again, a major hurricane expected 7 a.m. Wednesday by the Big Bend of Florida, making landfall. But again, like I've been stressing this whole video, this storm has wiggle room. It's going to hit somewhere in here, and that's a large area. So if you're anywhere from Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Florida, up towards Apalachicola, Florida, you need to be very prepared and heed those evacuation orders, because this storm is likely going to be a big one, possibly Category 3. At the lowest, probably Category 2. Category 4, I'm a little iffy on that. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think Category 3 is really what we're going to see. So, but no matter if it's Category 3 or Category 2, you still need to be prepared the same, no matter what. So really continue to tune into the forecast. I'll probably have maybe another live stream or forecast video tomorrow with more details. So again, please stay safe out there. I'm not trying to scare you guys. I'm just trying to prepare you guys. So again, please stay prepared, stay safe, heed those evacuation orders, and I'll see you tomorrow.